coming down to the 16th pole. Catholic boy is pulling away. He's so impressive today, the others didn't even have a prayer. Catholic boy rolls in the run. Happy Travers.
Live from the backstretch at historic Saratoga Racecourse, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow. Racing Across America is brought to you by Pinnell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track.
The Leah Auto Group. To search their inventory, schedule a service appointment, or find a dealership near you, visit leahcars.com. Leah Cars for life. And Woodbine Racetrack.
Pick, bet, and cheer on world-class horse racing north of the border.
Good morning. Welcome to the Thursday edition of Racing Across America, live from Saratoga. I'm Seth Merrow. Thanks for joining us. On today's show, a little bit later, David Aragona will join us. We'll talk a little racing today. We'll take a look out at some of the stakes action coming up on Saturday, get some of his thoughts on what happened last Saturday up here on the big Travers Day card. Speaking of the big Travers Day card, John Velazquez towards the end of the program, who had a huge day on Saturday, capped with the exclamation point on Code of Honor in the Travers, but otherwise mind control, significant form, and really just a couple of weeks that have been insane for him. The win out in Del Mar with the Del Mar Oaks, Sister Charlie and the Bev D. So it's been a nice second part of the summer for Mr. Velazquez. We'll talk about all of that when he joins us a little bit later on. But top of the show, it's our friend Skip Dickstein, who one of the gaggle of photographers you see, Winner's Circle paddock, bouncing around Saratoga, but Skip, one of the best, and you can see his work on a regular basis in the Times-Union. Skip, good morning.
Good morning, Seth. How are you?
Very good. Happy to have you on board. And as I say, doing a little work for the Times-Union as usual, and you're out here on a daily basis. Folks can catch your work there, a website. You have a Twitter account as well. A lot of great work. We'll show some of it coming up, but let's just go to the basics. How did you get into photography?
It's a family thing. My father was a photographer. My mother was the office manager and photographer for his studio, so it's a family thing.
And then how did you transition into, I don't know whether I'd say specializing, but certainly during the Saratoga season in the summer, specializing in horse racing?
Well, my father was a polo player.
Oh.
So he took me to the stable then it was called Fort Orange Stables out in Guilderland. And
they play polo in Guilderland?
Oh yeah, it was property that now is a parking lot for Crossgates Mall on Laner Road.
Oh.
And we walked in, and my dad asked the farm manager there, or the stable manager, and said, well, he's got anything for him to do? And they handed me a pitchfork, and the rest is history. So,
the rest of the year, what are you concentrating on?
well, now that I've left the Times-Union as a full-time employee, I'm just a vendor now, and I do a lot of different types of freelance work to keep me busy.
And you certainly bounce around some of the other racing venues as well.
Oh yeah. Well, right now I'm scheduled to possibly do the Gold Cup at Belmont, and then the 19th of October we'll be doing the Far Hills Race Meet, which is jumpers, of course.
Have you ever been there? I want to get there.
Oh, come on down.
Yeah, maybe
this is like my
this year,
could be, let's see, probably 15th or 20th season down there.
Oh, okay, because I look at the pictures, and those jump meets, but this is one of the top ones. But they're tailgating and whatnot, and last year or 2 years ago, they had it betting down there as well.
Last year.
Okay.
Was the first year for pari-mutuel betting. And it was a great success, and I'm sure they'll continue it this year, but I bring a team of 5 photographers down there, and we do all their marketing photography for the following year. Hopefully the weather's good. That helps. And we have a great time. It's a long day because we leave here at 6 in the morning, and we go down, and then we produce the images, and then we come back that evening. So.
And beyond that, anything planned on the racing side?
Yes, and then we go to the Breeders' Cup.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Shortly after that. Nothing out of the domestic United States, but right now that's the plan.
Yeah, that's a pretty good schedule for the remainder of the year. And again, you're here every day at Saratoga. Take folks through what is a typical day for you up here at Saratoga, because as I say, later in the afternoon, see you bouncing around, the winner's circle out in the paddock and whatnot. But take us through a typical day.
Well, it usually starts depending on what the weather is, because I'm always watching the weather to determine what the mornings are going to look like. And we'll get up at 5, be on track by 5:30, shoot morning work, morning anything. And there are trainers that have this nasty habit of liking to train their horses right at the get-go at 5:30, and it's like zero light, zero. But you have to record it. In fact, Code of Honor was one of those horses. But we still like Shug. He's a great guy. But he makes us work at our craft. And then I'll shoot until about 9:30, 10 o'clock. And then I'll go up to the press box, produce what I've shot that morning, and then shoot racing during the day. And I have various things that I have to do to produce for the Times Union, primarily, and then whoever else needs my work, then we'll take care of that.
So for the Times Union, for instance, you'll have mapped out before the racing day starts, hey, there's a stakes race, got to go down and get some pictures there. Maybe a local owner has a horse, get some pictures, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And you've kind of alluded to it already, the weather, the time of day and whatnot. Talk about photography and what are optimal conditions as opposed to during 40 days. And we've seen 40 days up here already this year. What you may wind up with, and how does that play into what you do?
Well, if you get a deluge, you have to record it. You have to, make images of it. So you record it. It's not pleasant. You just prepare. Anything you do, if you prepare for it, it'll work.
Yeah.
So it's fine. And but I prefer like nice cloudy morning with those rich colors in the sky, and you don't get those that often. So you do the best we can.
Let me ask you, because I'm a film school graduate, and I have looked through a lot of viewfinders in my day. I owned a television production company, and I say this a lot to photographers. Obviously, I was on the moving image side of things, but I think it's similar in many ways. From that experience of, as I say, looking through the viewfinder, trying to compose it and whatnot, do you think we have a different view of the world on a day-to-day basis? Because I can be driving down a country road, and there's a dilapidated, broken-down farmhouse, and I'll say, oh, that would make a great picture.
Well, the best cinematographers in the world are great still photographers first. And that's where you're going to learn all your composition from still photography. And you're going to compose your images when you're doing your video work or cinematography work. It's basically the same thing, except yours move and I'm stopping the motion. And that's how that whole thing plays out.
You get that too? You're driving around and just in an everyday setting, like, oh, that would make a good picture.
I do, and
although for you, it's probably stop the car and take the picture.
Well, exactly. I went over to Bick's house, and we were over there, and he said, well, there's some eagles. So we did the eagle thing, but they were so far away you couldn't even see them. But I was hoping that I would be able to get an opportunity to photograph. I'm not a real wildlife other than horses. Those are the animals that I like to photograph. But it was a challenge, and I liked the challenge. So
up here, is there a time of day, or do they all have their highlights? Like in the afternoon, it's drama. In the morning, it's, I don't know what the word would be, art. It's more visually appealing,
it's artsy
maybe.
But
in the morning. So you prefer the morning?
I like the pageantry of the afternoon. I like the artistry of the morning. I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, as I said, I'm not sure what the word is in the morning, but certainly steam, fog sometimes, just the light is a little bit different in the morning, and so there are a lot of pictures. The drama in the picture, the action is the afternoon, but as I'm talking, I'm thinking the drama visually is in the morning.
Oh,
you like that?
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, you should write for a living.
Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah.
You send us some pictures, some of your best of Saratoga 2019, and so I thought we'd kind of scroll through those and talk about them a little bit and what went into them and various parts of the day and whatnot. And the guys can kind of pop them up, and we'll go through all that. This is clearly the time of day that we were just talking about. That's a gorgeous picture from the far turn, and iconic for 2019 because the new building's in there as well.
Well, that was the whole point. That was why I was making these particular images, this particular image, just so I made sure that I showed the new building, and I'm personally a fan of what they've done. I think it's architecturally, I think it's wonderful. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I love it. I think it's incredible.
Yeah, I think people just think of Saratoga and don't like to see change, but when you look at that as compared to the tent that was there, how can you not like that?
Exactly.
I mean, it's beautiful and it fits right in. And
the tent and the
the
temporary
trailers.
Yeah, that was real pretty.
And I mean, this is just much of it. I've had a chance to go in and eat lunch in there, and it's a really nice facility.
Really? They let you in?
Yeah, Capello TB had a lunch the first day, so I snuck in that way.
Yeah. I haven't been in there other than to make a few pictures.
There you go. Now you got something to shoot for.
Yeah, I want lunch. But anyway, so I look like I need it.
We can kick on as we go through some of these images. Again, Saratoga, I love this one. That was, I'm guessing, it was, because I can see the jersey there. Mariano Rivera Day. But I like these pictures. There was the one on the cover of Sports Illustrated a few years ago that are iconic also for the time and place.
Oh, the American Pharaoh picture.
Yeah, because everybody in front of you's holding up their camera.
Well, not only that, it was different. Everybody, most of the media was down in front, and they got the same image.
Yeah.
Why do I want the same image that everybody else has? And I'm showing you couldn't see any of the blacktop on the apron around this guy, this sports icon. So I tried to illustrate that, and thankfully, and very luckily, we were able to get a beautiful sky to go with it, and that was, it was a grounder from there.
Yeah, that's a perfect picture.
Not to use a baseball term.
With the clouds and the blue sky, and as I say, the people holding up their phones and whatnot. I'm with you. A lot of times I'll go out after a race and I take pictures either for my website or maybe to use here after a stakes race. And one of the things I like to do is kind of go to the far side of where everybody is and shoot back at all the photographers shooting the horse.
Oh, yeah.
With the facility in the background. They just kind of capture the moment and the time and whatnot and get something a little bit different. And that's what you did here. Again, that's a great picture, Mariano Day, a little earlier in the meet. Let's move on and take a look at some of the other photos. Again, the best of 2019, and talk about this one.
It was just a grab of an image that I made. The horses, I don't know who the horse is. It's just it just was a nice moment, and the flowers, and I know I get a little corny with some of my
I'm right with you.
work.
It's a guy, clearly a nice relationship between man and horse, as it were, and that's part of what goes on here every day.
Exactly.
And so as you're chronicling what goes on, that's part of it. And I'm assuming this is just kind of bouncing around in the morning sometime.
It is. I'll just cruise around.
Yeah.
I just spend the mornings. If I don't have an assignment, I'll just cruise around the area. And it's the kind of thing that I just wish people would understand how much we care as horsemen, how much we care about these animals, and how well cared for they are.
Yeah, I think that's it. And that kind of a picture helps that, and I think that's a great message to get out. Some of the other photos you sent were just from around the facility, and this is great because it shows kind of the Saratoga, the diversity, young, old, men, women, but this is a great picture.
I understand that's how you do your handicapping.
I put the pen over the page and just wherever it drops, boom.
Yeah, exactly.
This kid probably did better than me that day.
Yeah, well, I don't know. You're pretty good.
Moving on again. As I say, you're kind of bouncing around and catching a little bit of everything. Yeah, you gotta love this.
You'll see anything at a racetrack. And this isn't Aqueduct either.
And that I tell people all the time, and again, you're capturing that. I'd say to people, even if you're not a horse racing fan, come to Saratoga. You'll have a few laughs like this, go out and back and watch the music, maybe pick a favorite number and make a couple of bets. But this is part of Saratoga and part of the ambiance. And again, you have a couple of. This is a beautiful picture.
That is Champagne Anyone.
Okay.
The filly that ran in the big Philly Stakes. And she's just real pretty, and she just arched her neck around, and it was that was a grab. This is this images of Mary Lou Whitney's box the day that she passed, and they put flowers in the box. And I just thought this was the best way to capture the moment.
Yeah, that was a great shot because you got the horse. And again, composition, I will compliment you. The horse is equally on sides of the flowers. And
everybody gets lucky.
It's
the squirrel and the nuts thing.
Another gorgeous picture. Is this morning or evening? It's got to be morning. It's got to be a workout, right?
Yeah, it was somebody's galloping.
Yeah.
But again, the clouds make the image.
Yeah.
I mean, without the clouds, it's just another galloping horse.
And of course, at this particular meet, plenty of opportunity to shoot clouds.
Yeah, I can't remember whether I put the images in from the storm or not.
I saw one, and if we don't get through one of those, people can pick up your Twitter feed. Skips Cam.
There's
Skips Cam. Here we are. I've had a winning ticket. That was a great picture too.
And that had to be recorded because the governor is a rarity on the scene here. And
he came up, I think, in tribute to Mary Lou and to honor her and John, and came up and spent a couple of races. But nice smile, winning ticket. So he's just like the rest of us when we have a winning ticket.
Exactly. Here's the image showing the storm.
And again, it was that kind of summer where this happened a few times where I'd be sitting in the press box and you would look out and something like that would move in quickly. Would come in and like, wow.
They rushed the post braid, they got him out, they ran the race, and then the skies opened up.
Yeah, that is, again, another gorgeous picture. Best of Saratoga 2019 is what you titled the group, and I think, again, that is kind of iconic for the season. This is a gorgeous picture.
This is from the Alabama, and that was Dunbar Road.
I mean, it looks like he's recognizing you're taking the picture.
I'm not sure it was me. I think he could see the photographers on the outside rail, and he was just reacting to everybody. But again, it was just a quick grab. And I personally like images where you can see the eyes of the jock. But anyway, moving on, this image shows what the track. I actually shot this so you could kind of understand what the jockeys are looking at when they're behind this wall of horses on the start. And it just was fortunate that it all fell together.
Yeah, and when you walk, when you're standing at the winner's circle and the jockeys walk back after a day like this, you can see they're caked with it, and that gives you the
then you understand why.
Exactly, when you see the kick up like that on those kind of days. Certainly. And speaking of the facility, is this morning too? This must be what you're referring to, the 5:30 start.
Yeah, it was. We were actually waiting for somebody to come out to work in the morning, and I saw these horses almost positioning themselves in front of the windows, and I said, well, I've got to make this image. And that's the 1863 club with horses going out to gallop in the morning at 5:30.
That's great. Another great picture.
It's probably Jimmy Bond's horse. He's always the first on the track.
And he's always out here. I got to wait for him every day as they come across. And the golf cart goes by with Jim and maybe Tina in there. And I realize, now I'm going to get into the parking lot. Another great morning shot.
Oh, that was, let's see. That was the day before the Travers. Nobody in particular, I have no idea who it was, but it was just, the sky was just illuminated, and that was the best part. And this is, of course, from the Travers. No, you go ahead. And the next image is from the Travers, the first time by.
Oh, okay.
And if we can get that image up, there we go. You'll see the dirt being thrown into their faces because Code of Honor was in the back of the pack at the time. And just everybody's off the ground and flying, and plenty of action, plenty of excitement.
I like the people up on the roof, too.
Yeah, that was probably you.
I think I was downstairs for that. I've been up on the roof for the Travers, but I think I was downstairs for that one. But otherwise, I would take a closer look at that and try to pick me out. But yeah, that's a great shot as well. Let me tie into this one. Where do you usually position yourself during a race?
I'm usually on the outside rail.
Okay.
Of course, this is Elate and Midnight Bisou at the finish.
So this is kind of a head-on. Are you down? Are you that
No,
far down?
I have a remote camera.
Okay.
I have a very outstanding associate who works with me on the racing, Tim Lanahan. Without him, most of these under the rails are not happening anymore because I'm just getting to be too old to do them.
And I'm not sure if we have more. There we go.
And that is my favorite image from the Travers this year of John patting coat of honor on the shoulder as he passed the wire.
Very nice. And continuing. Nope, we may be done. That's it. That's it. But that's a great way. That puts the exclamation point on because, again, a little bit later on, I have Johnny V in here. So
there you go. You can throw up the image again.
We will talk a little bit about that win in the Travers. Skip, got to move on. But, again, folks can catch your work through the remainder of the meet in the Times Union and various venues as well. You have a website, but as I say, also a Twitter feed. People want to pull that up.
And
you put
Instagram,
the images.
Skip D.
Skip D and Instagram as well. Skip, appreciate the visit. Before we go,
pleasure.
I should for other budding photographers out there. What is your tool of choice?
Well, I normally don't go any place without a camera, and this is the new Nikon Z7, which is mirrorless, so you can barely hear this thing, and it's great for street photography. And I use it a lot for architecture. And buildings or whatever, and it is just amazing. It's very light. I mean, there's nothing to it. Don't drop it, please.
Oh, I got it. That would be bad on TV.
Yeah, bad form.
Skip, again, appreciate the visit, and folks can check out your work at those various spots, and we appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the meet.
And thank you for having me on, Seth.
Happy to have you on.
Sincerely a pleasure.
Skip Dickstein. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, David Aragona will take a look at some of the racing action. Stay tuned.
You like free money? Well, Capital OTB gives its players plenty of opportunities to cash in. At Capital OTB, there are so many ways for horse players to receive bonus dollars by simply participating in promotions such as our bankrolls, bounty bets, online handicapping contests, and much, much more. Plus, with Capital OTB's Player Rewards Program, you get actual cash back. So what are you waiting for? Log on today at CapitalOTB.com or CapitalOTBBet.com and claim your free money. No matter where in the world you are, the excitement of wagering on horse racing is just a click away. You'll get live streaming, past performances, race replays, our virtual tote board, analysis and selections from professional handicappers, a simple, safe, and secure wagering platform, and best of all, you get track prices. CapitalOTBBet.com. Bet any place, anytime at CapitalOTBBet.com. And be sure to download our new mobile app from the iTunes Store or Google Play.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. As promised before the break, joined now by the morning line odds maker for the New York Racing Association, David Aragona, but you also see him on the pregame show doing a little handicapping often with Andy, and we're going to tap into that as well as some other topics this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good to be back here for my third appearance of the
Third
summer.
appearance, yeah. Triple. I don't know whether we have time for a grand slam, but
probably not. It's winding down pretty fast.
Okay, it is winding down fast. And how did you said last year was your first full season?
First full summer.
So how did this compare to last year? In that it's a different schedule this year. I like the 2 days off.
I like the 2 days off a lot too. It still felt pretty busy this year, though.
Yeah.
I think you can't really escape that up in Saratoga. There's just always so much to do. But it's a good kind of work. It's a good kind of busy. And the summer it really flew by, as it always does.
Yeah, you start it, and before you know it, you're here with the last weekend staring you right in the face. And we'll talk about some of the nice stakes action coming up, including the Woodward and whatnot. Before we do that, though, I wanted to pull up some action from last weekend and get your thoughts on the card overall. Yesterday, we talked about some of the action with some of the guests and watched the Travers a couple of times. So I thought it was an opportunity today. Again, talk in general about all of the stakes that last Saturday, but pull up the Personal Ensign, which I think is going to wind up to be, if not one of the top 3 races of the meet. Midnight Bijou gets it done over a late. Watching the stretch run here. Give us your thoughts, A, on the Personal Ensign, and B, on the day overall on Saturday.
I mean, this race was just thrilling to watch. Coming to the top of the stretch, I didn't think Alate could possibly get beat. She's got such a strong finishing kick on her. She was flying away from the rest of the field, and I mean, it's just a credit to Midnight Bijou's grit and gameness that she actually ran her down. I mean, she just knows where the wire is, and it seems like she always gets there. She's not going to win by big margins ever, but she just has this horse's number. And I mean, I saw some people saying that maybe Jose Ortiz moved a little too soon. He kept Alate off the rail for the entire race. You didn't want to be on the rail on Saturday. Midnight Bijou was off the rail too. I just thought it was a really good matchup between these two horses, and Midnight Bijou just finds the wire first.
Code of honor in the Travers?
I thought it was a great performance. He was the best horse.
Yeah.
I mean, John Velazquez gave him just a sensational ride. I think by that point in the day, everyone knew you had to be off the rail, and he just took him to the back of the pack, bided his time, rode him like he was the best horse, swung out at the top of the stretch. And it's funny, people always had concerns about him getting 10 furlongs, and he was finishing off that race better than anybody else. I mean, he had no problem with it. I mean, just a great training job by Shug to point to that race, and he just took a big step forward since the Triple Crown races, which we've seen from a lot of 3-year-olds.
Yeah, and he's clearly now in the 3-year-old discussion, depending on what we see from Maximum Security. Matoli, nice rebound there. Come Dancing, Carlos Martin has a really nice runner. She looked great. Mind Control, very good. Annals of Time with the starts and stops in the career. You have to tip your cap there.
Yeah, between Annals of Time and Bricks and Mortar, it's just amazing that Klarovich and Chad Brown have gotten those two back to their best performances, and they're arguably the two best turf horses in the country right now. It's going to be interesting to see if they both make it to the Breeders' Cup Turf or if they split them up a little bit. Matoli, great to see him get back on track. It's funny, we've got a lot of different Horse of the Year candidates, just horses that have been dominant in their divisions, like Midnight Bijou, like Matoli, like Bricks and Mortar. There's no real older horse right now aside from McKinsey, who only has that one Grade 1 win, who's really distinguished himself yet. So I think it's pretty wide open heading into the fall.
Yeah, McKinsey probably has to put another couple of Grade 1s on to really
and he could
get
do it.
some kind of there's no question. But it is kind of wide open at this point. And I was looking at your Twitter feed last night in prep for the show, and you made the point, and I think it's a valid point. Chancelot, certainly off of what we saw earlier in the meet, you were thinking, and I think it was Mike Welch who did the recap for the Daily Racing Forum, said, Superman started to falter. Superman hit his kryptonite a little late in the stretch, but on reflection, when you look at the margin and whatnot, that was still a pretty nice performance from Chancelot. Not to take anything away from the winner in there, who certainly ran very well as well.
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who pays a lot of attention to track biases, it's really hard to quantify what would have happened without the rail not being the place to be. But I think in retrospect, it's hard to shake that feeling of a heavy favorite losing and feeling the disappointment of it. But he really did run a nice race because nobody else, aside from that 2-year-old that won from Mark Cassie early on the card, rode the rail and was successful on Travers Day. So he really bucked the trend. It's just we have to see if he can get back to that brilliant performance we saw in the Amsterdam.
Yeah, that was, and you knew there was going to be a bounce, and there was, but really until 50 yards before the wire, you still thought, he's going to do it again. So I thought it was a good performance too. It just, given what we saw earlier in the meet, it was a little bit disappointing, I guess, but that was just wacky good earlier in the meet. All right, let's talk a little today, and also out on the weekend, the Thursday afternoon card. Let's start things out taking a look at race number 2, State Bred Optional Claimer, mile and eighth on the grass. I went 9, 6, 1, and 7. I put Gambler's Fallacy on top. It's Chad Brown, and on the turf, it just seems like you're bucking the trend if you go against Chad Brown. But Cross Border, I think, is live off the past couple of starts, and maybe where the betting public goes, given their, and mine too, their use of buyer numbers. The buyers for Cross Border very good over the past few starts, and maybe a touch better overall than Gambler's Fantasy. I went with the Chad Brown angle. I went 9, 6, 1, and 7. What did you see?
Yeah, I feel like Cross Border is probably going to be a substantial favorite in this race, not just because he's got those strong speed figures, but when you look through this race, there's not a ton of speed in here, and he's got that tactical speed where he can be on the leader right off. We Should Talk, who might go to the front. Cross Border, his race 2 back was really good. That was a fast buyer, fast speed figure. Last time out, I thought he was a little bit lucky to win. Horses in there had trouble, like Southern King, who blew the start and graded on a curve, who was 5th, who probably would have won that race if he had gotten a clear run through in the stretch. He was just totally blocked. So there's an argument to be made that Cross Border was actually 3rd best that day, even though he won. And I didn't think he would really love the 1 1/8 distance. I want to take a shot against him with Chad Brown's other horse, Minsky Moment, the number 1. He's arguably best on the turf, even though he's never won on that surface. He lost to horses like Red Knight and Gucci Factor back at the end of 2017 on the turf, who are both stakes winners now, graded stakes type of horses, actually. And last time out, I know it seems like McKagan ran off instead of fast pace. If you look at the fractions, that actually was not a fast pace. I think the other riders just got fooled a little bit into rating way too far off that horse, and Minsky Moment was way too far behind. I like the 1 1/8, and I thought he might be the better price of the 2 Chad Brown runners.
I will say Cross Border, and it is not necessarily a solid handicapping angle, but it's tough to win 3 times at Saratoga.
It is, and the public always expects you to do it because he's the horse for the course now. And
so we'll see. And I would guess, I'm not sure, I haven't been keeping track of that, but I would guess he would be the first one, and potentially at the last weekend the only one,
I think so.
if he got it done. But we'll see if that works out later this afternoon. Race number 7 on Thursday afternoon. State-bred maiden special 2-year-old fillies going 3/4 of a mile. I have not seen the scratches yet, but first on the AE list, Critical Value. Marshall Graham, 10 Strike Racing. Jeremiah Engelhardt just missed in the career debut by Bodie Meister. If that one sneaks in, I'm tilting in that direction. If it doesn't sneak in, I'll go Maya Wea for Todd Pletcher, who I think is going to run better in the second start than we saw in the first start. But it's a race where I think you can make similar arguments for a lot of these. I went 11, 4, 1, and 9. What did you see?
Yeah, I just saw the scratches prior to coming on, and Critical Value is getting into the race. There were a couple of horses coming out of the main body of the field. I think she's way the horse to beat Critical Value. She ran a winning race in her debut. She just ran into a stablemate that was a little bit better than her. But she's going to be a short price now. And if I want to take another horse coming out of that race, it's definitely Saratoga Beauty, the number 8. She was kind of curiously bet down to be the 9-5 favorite that day in the face of a couple of seemingly live Jeremiah Engelhardt horses. And typically horses that are bet like that, they're supposed to show speed, and I think naming Paco Lopez on her kind of signified that she was intended to show speed, but she broke about a length slowly. Paco tried to rush her up into the race after that, but she ended up running into traffic, getting rank. It was just a really uncomfortable trip for a first-time starter. I like that they're coming back to Saratoga with Paco aboard again. If she breaks better, I think she's going to go to the front, and she'll be much tougher today.
Yeah, off a bullet workout down at Monmouth that may signal intent.
Out of the gate again, so they're working on that a little bit.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to race number 9 on Thursday afternoon. It is the feature, the PG Johnson. I'm going to be very interested to see where the betting public goes here. I was watching the handicappers report at the end just before I came on and did this show. And Anthony and Brian were talking about Cristal and what that horse would take given the scenario. I had John Kimmel on a couple of weeks ago after this race. He said, I'm treating that as a win. He was thinking about the Natalma then, but elected to go in this spot, which I found interesting. And for folks who don't know the story, she won at 41-1 and won very easily, and then was DQ'd. And Mr. Kimmel was not happy about that, as some bettors were not happy as well. I'm going to go in that direction. I just like the scenario. The Pletcher horse, the number 4, is in my mix as well. Sweet Melania, the other Pletcher. These are fun races. I like these 2-year-olds. I like the 3-year-olds on the turf, but these 2-year-old stakes this time of year start to develop what we can look for in the 3-year-old season potentially. I'll use Cristal. What are you looking for?
I think the focus is really towards the outside in this race. Cristal, she's a difficult horse to sort of peg on a morning line because she was 40-1 last time out.
Yeah,
And it's difficult to know how the public's going to treat her second time out. But she was obviously a lot better than anybody gave her credit for. I mean, she really ran in that race. It's not like it fell apart or anything. I was looking at Trackis, and she ran her final quarter mile in just over 22 seconds, which for a 2-year-old filly is really exceptional. The track has been fast, but that's still pretty good. And I think she's the real deal. And I agree, they should treat this like a maiden win because it's not like this race came up that tough. She's going to be among the favorites in here. I do think Sweet Melania on the outside is pretty good. I know we weren't sure how strong that race was early in the meet because the final time seemed kind of slow. But Morning Gold, who she beat that day, came back to win very impressively for Ken McPeak. I think that was actually a much better race than it might seem based on the speed figures. And she's reportedly been training really well since that race. So I think Sweet Melania is probably the real deal. But she could take a lot of money in this race. Just looking for a little bit of value, I went to the number 7 English Breeze. I know she's a New York bred stepping up to face Open Company, but she didn't run a typical New York bred kind of race in her debut. I mean, she was really ranking the early going with the blinkers on, like she wanted to do more through the first half mile. Manny Franco had a ton of trouble restraining her, but once she got out into the clear coming around the 3/8 pole, she just looped past that field and kept carrying that momentum forward through the stretch. I think she's really good. I was a big fan of this horse's dam. Not that she was anything special. She was just one of the horses I liked to pick a lot, so I want to see her progeny do well. And I think this one might have more ability than the typical New York bred in this race.
Well, you talk about horse getting rank and a little trouble in with anticipation yesterday.
Yeah, that was really bizarre.
Yeah, the pace and the horse coming up on the inside. They're trip downs galore coming out of yesterday's feature. All right, let's go to Saturday and get some thoughts there. And you and I were talking. You said you've done the morning line, not necessarily selections, but we'll just give some thoughts here on the stakes action coming up on Saturday, which is highlighted obviously with the Grade 1 Woodward, $750,000 mile and an 8th. Vino Rosso comes out of the 3rd in the Whitney, and Todd Pletcher was kind of thinking, should I go here or not, and then worked out the other morning to kind of validate whether the horse likes the track or not. Well, I think we're validated with the 58 and change. So they entered. Preservationist has to be better than we saw in the Whitney. The races just before that were very, very good. Yoshida, who won this race last year, comes out of a 2nd in the Whitney. Wooderson, Tom's Day Tot coming out of the restricted stake Aladar win. I think it's a fun field. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I know some people were a little disappointed that the top players in the division might not be in this race, but it's a really fun betting race.
So.
There are a lot of contenders. Yoshida, I mean, the focus is on the horses coming out of the Whitney, really. And I think if Yoshida runs back to his Whitney, he's going to be really tough to beat because, I mean, the pace didn't sit up for him. It was pretty slow on the front end, and he was just traveling so strongly under Joel Rosario for the entire race. Really made a strong run at McKinsey at the end in a race that nobody could go with McKinsey because he was finishing so quickly at the end of that race. He's proven he handles the dirt before. He obviously likes Saratoga for whatever that's worth. And I just think Yoshida's going to be tough, but he's not going to get a ton of pace to close into in this race because you've got Mr. Buff from the rail who's a speed. Maybe they'll use Wooderson or Tom's Tata on the outside as a stalking type, but there's not like a ton of front-running speed in this race, so we'll see how it really sets up for Yoshida if he needs that. I agree, Preservationist has to run better here. I'm not way against him. He loved the 1.25 miles in the Suburban 2-back at Belmont, and he just didn't seem to be quite as comfortable over the main track at Saratoga last time, going the 1 1/8 miles. So I wanted to prove it to me here. Vino Rosso, I think you have to respect him off that workout. That was with the blinkers off, and they're running him with the blinkers off today. So he's in form. And I wouldn't totally discount the New York bred Mr. Buff, who's just running some big speed figures for a long time. He's in great form right now, loves 1 1/8 miles, has the perfect post position for this distance. I don't know if I'm going to pick him. I'll probably use him somewhere, but Mr. Buff, I think, is a dangerous long shot.
Yeah, interesting, again, addition of the Woodward. The Glens Falls, a little bit earlier on the card, 1 3/8 on the grass. Santa Monica in here for Chad Brown, just with Chad going well at the meet. I think Santa Monica takes some action, but Empress of the Nile for Grand Motion. Chad also has Fool's Gold. Mississippi for Grand Motion comes over from Europe. Chad Brown also with Knight of England. So, again, it's one of those turf races where Chad Brown's going to take a lot of action, certainly one way or the other, but Graham has a couple interesting runners in here as well.
Yeah, it's a pretty wide open race, and Santa Monica's loss at a short price in the way has sort of thrown this race into a little bit of chaos, because she would have been a heavy favorite against this field based on her prior efforts. Her stablemate Fool's Gold beat her that day, and I mean, she got a good trip, but it didn't feel like Santa Monica had a huge excuse, so she's got to get back into form here. There are others to consider, though, like Empress of the Nile, who you mentioned. I'm not way against her. Graham Motion's shipper, Mississippi, who's making her first start in the U.S., he does very well at these shippers, Graham Motion, so I think this horse is dangerous. I wonder if she's a horse that is coming over here to get Lasix, because she just has completely fallen apart in her 2 starts this year, so sometimes there's a reason that they ship these horses over. It's not like it's a private purchase. They were running her for the same connections over there, so I think she's dangerous. And Get Explicit, she ran fine at a big price in the way at 2, so I wouldn't be totally against her. I think it's a very competitive race.
Yeah, it's an interesting addition to the Glens Falls. Saranac, grade 3. I'm just going to be interested to see what Rinaldi can do for Jim Bond. The New York bred looks so good in the last race up here, but good governance for Chad Brown, global access, seismic wave. You can go a number of different directions, but boy, I liked Rinaldi in that last race.
Yeah, it feels like a race that sort of horses are running in because it came up a little bit of a light field, and maybe some people changed plans to run here. We just run a few too many of these graded stakes for the 3-year-olds on the turf these days. But it's an interesting race. Seismic Wave, I mean, he's got the class lines, but his recent form has tanked a little bit, and maybe cutting back is going to help him, but he's got no speed, so he's always sort of at the mercy of the pace. I'm not going to knock Rinaldi. I mean, he's just been looking awesome against the New York breds. It's a huge step up in class for him. And he's got to handle the mile on 16th, but he's okay. And I think the Chad Brown runner, Good Governance, is going to take a ton of money in this race, because everybody saw that debut where he was 4 wide around both turns, ran down his stablemate Doswell, who was really well meant that day. He seems like one of these horses they purchased overseas that could turn out to be pretty good, like a Digital Age or Newspaper of Record. So I think they're the main players, but Good Governance, I'm really interested to see how he does here.
They're making the sire Kingsman look good.
He's had a few running over here.
First from Chad by Kingsman yesterday looked good. Prioress earlier on the card starts the stake section, 6 furlongs for the 3-year-old fillies. It just looks like it goes through Brad Cox's runner break even here.
Yeah, it's really just a 3-horse field, and sort of just like a 1 and 2 half-horses fields, because break even, she's just way the horse to beat. I mean, maybe Break Curfew, the other break horse, will put a little pressure on her because she's the other front runner in this race, but break even, she's just a rocket ship out of the gate. I mean, when they open the stalls, it seems like she's a length in front every time, so I don't see how they get in front of her early. 6 furlongs, it's the perfect distance. The intriguing horse in here is Risky Mandate, because we don't yet know how good she is. She was impressive beating older horses last time in her first start at Saratoga. She's been firing off all these bullet workouts since then. To me, she's probably the other horse, but she's sort of at the mercy of the pace, because Break Even's just going to be able to sort of control up front.
Yeah, short field of 6, but with Break Even, an intriguing way to kick off the stakes action. David, as always, appreciate the visit. Good job up here, Saratoga, making the morning line. I said to you when we talked morning line the last time you were in, a thankless job, as it were. And it's tough with the 2-year-old races and whatnot, but good job and continued success going forward here. And on the move down to Belmont, we'll look for you continuing on the pregame show with Andy as well. But thanks for the visit.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
David Aragona. All right, we'll take a break. John Velazquez is in the house. We'll talk with him. Had a great weekend last weekend, and really it's been a good couple of weeks for Johnny V. We'll talk about all of that and more. Stay tuned.
Thank you. You make that so easy for me.
For a fantastic meal, stop by Malcolm's, a unique farm-to-table restaurant experience. Located at 617 Union Street in Schenectady, Malcolm's offers locally grown fresh foods, mouth-watering flavors, an enhanced drink menu, and terrific service. Malcolm's is a sure bet during Saratoga season. Make your reservation today.
In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. As promised before the break, joined now by jockey John Velazquez. Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy to have you over here after a big weekend. And I said, really, the last 3 weeks have been very good for you at the various venues. Multiple Eclipse winner, Hall of Fame as well. Let's start at the beginning, doing a little research. We've talked about it before, I think, when we had you in here, but remind people, started the career in Puerto Rico, went to the jockey school there. But what drew you to horse racing?
I don't know. I grew up around horses. That's the main thing. I love the horses, and being horses since I was very young. And all of a sudden, you know, I found out a couple of jockeys from Puerto Rico that I met on the way, and then I said, oh wow, I can make a career out of horse racing, basically, out of the horses, because the passion was for the horses first. I went to a jockey school in Puerto Rico, and the rest is history.
The rest is history, yeah. It has wound up to be a very successful career. Talk a little bit about longtime team, you and Angel Cordero. How did you and Angel meet up, and talk about your, as I say, successful teaming with Angel over the years as he is your agent?
Yeah, and then again, it goes back to the same thing, back to Puerto Rico. You know, I graduated from the school. I rode for a month in Puerto Rico, and then Angel came to Puerto Rico to buy some horses. So Mr. Dutro Sr. at the time, and that's why I met him. So we gave him one of my tapes of the winnings that I had in Puerto Rico, and my agent and Angel, they're very good friends for a long time, and asked him if my agent asked him if I could come with him to New York. The first question was, do you speak any English? And I said, no, I don't speak any English. And then it's like, well, it's going to be really tough, and it's still cold. There were at least 3 Bug boys here at that time, 1990, they were doing really, really well. So it's going to be really tough if you don't speak the language. It's cold. It's going to be really hard to break in. But anyway, he took the tape, was watching it at his house with Richie Allen. Richie Allen was visiting on vacation at Angel's house, and they were watching the tape, and Richie says, I mean, this kid looks like he has some talent. And Angel just turned around and said to him that, yeah, he wants to come to New York, but I don't have an agent. I don't have anywhere to put him. And Richie said, bring him over. I'll be his agent. So that was my first agent coming into New York, and the rest is again history.
How long did it take you to learn English?
I said about a year and a half. You know, so I knew words here, but I didn't speak the language, so it's just to put a sentence together and everything. So it was really hard. But being with the kids at home with Angel, I lived with him when I came to New York, and watching a lot of TV and a lot of movies with Canela and Julie. Canela was just a little baby, and we watched a lot of movies, and that's how I kind of picked up the language. So it's very cute.
And now you have your own kids as well. We were talking as you came on the set. We were asking about your wife, Leona. For folks who don't know, your father-in-law, Leo O'Brien, trainer 4-star Dave. Certainly folks will remember that. So a racing family was, but I don't think your kids are headed into the game.
No, not at all. I mean, they love horses. So that's the one thing they really love horses, and they like to come in the mornings. And every summer, they're obviously with my father-in-law being a trainer. They go out in the mornings most of the time, and so they stay busy and during the summer, and they do something, you know, at least they're helping my father-in-law and my brother-in-law with the horses. So they really love the horses. So that's the main thing. And the races it's something different, but they love to be around the horses and be part of it. Yeah.
Seen in the winner's circle too, and they've had plenty of opportunity. Is it fair to say there are 2 fair things? You got off to a slow start, but the last 2 weeks have been nuts.
Yeah, that's very fair to say, though. You know, I mean, I've been pretty selective for I ride him, and everything that I rode. The first part of the media was a lot of seconds, so you know, you hope that those things come back and run better, and they seem to come back and run better and winning races. And obviously, the good horses that I've been riding, thankfully, they've been running good. Yeah.
Let's take a look, and I pulled up the entire race here of the Travers, and maybe you can take us through as a rider. Code of Honor is the number 2 horse, and just take us out of the gate. And I'm assuming you come in with a game plan. How did it work out in the Travers? Do you have to go to Plan B? And as they say, Code of Honor, the number 2 horse in here. So kind of take us through the running of the race.
Now listen, he broke really well, and that was, you know, expecting out of him. And was going to drive back and then just be patient with him. And really, I mean, it worked out really, really well the way I thought the race was going to unfold. Kind of let him, you know, let his own stride guide me where he wanted to be, and I didn't put any pressure on him to try to keep him closer to the pace. And by the back stretch, I knew he was going very, very comfortable. And I found him naturally heavier in the back stretch, knowing the track was somehow a little bit heavy on the inside, so I worked my way out and to the back stretch. And half a mile pole, I was watching Javier, and his was going well, so I kind of put it right behind him and past the half a mile pole. Javier kind of nudged his horse to move a little bit, and I tried to go a little bit with him. Actually, my horse responded much better than his, so like much quickly, and his horse didn't go anywhere. And kind of clipped a little bit of his heels, and I had to go out to the outside instead of being right behind him. And he looked to the inside. I was like, no, stay there. Don't come out now. I want my right outside of you. And after that was pretty easy. I mean, he responded right away and down the stretch. And I got to the 8 pole, and I knew he was running good and got away from the horse in 16 pole. So, I mean, it's a dream trip. Obviously, the horse responded for everything I wanted to do, and to have it responded the way he did it, was definitely special.
When do you feel super confident? I mean,
we're
watching here on the turn.
Right here by the quarter pole, I know it was very confident. I mean, he's running well.
Yeah.
I see everybody was riding hard in front. I still haven't hit him yet. By the 8 pole, first time I touched him with a crab, and then he responded right away. And I was like, well, I think we got him. So I didn't think anybody was coming from behind, and it was 2 horses that I was worried about were in front of me, and I just passed them. So very well. I mean, a great run by my horse. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And Shug, great training job. The Dwyer, he skipped the gym dandy, so he trains into the Travers. Were you working him in the morning?
Man, great job by Shug and the team. I didn't work on the way to the Travers now. And you know, they done really good. I think he felt really comfortable the way he's sitting in their side rider in the morning. So they were pretty comfortable the way the horse was doing. So he didn't need me this time.
It sounded like, reading some of your post-race comments, you kind of felt that the horse has gained maturity or gained some
Absolutely.
experience.
You know, that was, we were looking for him to get more mature. You know, we know working in the morning, and I keep telling Sugarman, this is one of the best horses I worked in the morning. Hopefully he can put that in the afternoon. So, you know, and he was pretty green and a little spotty. So, and he told me, well, he's still late May, he's still, you know, maturing. So maybe we'd take it easy with him and let him develop for the summertime, and that's what he did. I mean, so you got to give all the credit to Shug and the team and the owners to allow him to do that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously it paid off. I mean, he came back in the Dwyer and came back in the Travers, and he's won very impressively. So very good. Yeah.
Shug said he wanted a summer horse. Bam. Midsummer
Absolutely, yeah.
Derby. He grabs it up here, and he's looking maybe Jockey Club Gold Cup to face older. And again, off of that, you have to feel some level of confidence.
And then you see where we go. So
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you have to train the way he's trained here. They came to the Travers and see how they feel, and we go from there.
A couple other wins on the card on Saturday, and I want to get some thoughts there. We will take a look first at the Jerkins Mind Control. Chancelot came in off of that incredible win earlier in the meet. He never escaped from you guys in this race the way he did in the Amsterdam. He was always in the sights of the field, but you're coming kind of from the back, and Mind Control makes a nice late run. Hog Creek Hustle is going to be right in there in a ding-dong photo. The chart margin is a nose as we watch the stretch run here and see that nose victory. What level, I'm always curious for riders, what level of confidence do you have in
Now listen,
finish
I was running, and he was running as hard as he could. I was just hoping that the horses in front come back to us a little bit, because I mean, and then when we got to the 8 pole, and it was a big fight from there on, you know, and over to the 16 pole, I was like, man, I think I'm gonna get it. And then all of a sudden I see the horse on the outside, and I was like, man, I wasn't sure, you know. So I mean, and barely made it to the wire. You know, the other horse obviously ran all the way down to the wire, so he didn't stop the way I thought he'll come back to us. You know, looking at the race also, I think when 23 inches the first quarter, so it was kind of easy for him. So I was thinking also, I mean, he ran a big race too. Both horses that came from behind had to run hard to get to him, and obviously I ended up being in the winner. But I mean, it was a hard race to win, and very proud to my horse to actually keep running. And in the 8 pole, if you watched entre me and Joel, we kind of bouncing around a little bit, trying to keep that position going. He got a little bump, and he continued running and held on by a nose. So you got to be very proud for a horse to put the whole weight like that. Yeah.
It was a nice performance, and that makes him 2 for 2 over the track because he won last year's Hopeful with you on
That's
board.
Right.
Not necessarily this horse, but do you get on horses, and from a jockey's perspective, is horse for a course a real thing, that horses seem to thrive some venues as opposed to others?
I don't know. Maybe obviously you have to be. They have to bring it 100%. And sometimes things happens that they have to back up on the horses a little bit, and they come to the races. Not 100%, but near to that. So. I mean, when he came in and I talked to Gregory, this horse is doing super. This is probably, we have him really right for this race. So they were very confident coming to the race, and obviously showed. I mean, put a great effort into a really, really tough race. So I was very, very confident going to the race that he's going to run a really good race. And even in the warm-up, I was like, man, he feels like he's full of energy and he wants to run. So you hope that they show that in the race. So, and he did. Very proud for the team again, to bring him into a really tough race.
Rick.
Man, so you gotta give it to the team, and to bring into a really tough race and the way he run, you gotta be proud. You gotta be proud.
He very nice on the 3-year-old sprinter side, which is always a kind of a fun subdivision. And just wanted to also take a look at your third stakes victory on Saturday, the Ballston Spa, number 4, significant form for trainer Chad Brown, and you get it done here by a neck over Indian Blessing. So again, another kind of a thriller, as it were. Talk a little bit about the performance of
obviously
form.
Tough races. That's where a big day like that comes in, and then you hope that you're on the right horse at the right time, and then they responded the way that you want to. I mean, then again, a perfect trip. I mean, we know she was going to be close to the lead, and talking to Chad and talking to the owners, and so he listened. If she gets a little bit aggressive, just kind of let it place herself where she wants to be, and then she'll come back to you. So. And basically, when she broke a little tip slow, and I kind of let it place herself going to the first turn, and then she actually settled really well right away. And that was the easiest thing. She was probably going to be ranked a little bit the first part of the race, coming from sprinting to a mile and 16, mile, whatever the race was. So she was pretty easy to settle behind the horses, though. So and it was good. And when I asked her to run, she responded right away. And man, what a feeling when you have a good trip, you thinking that you have some horse on the end of you, and sometimes you ask her, they don't respond, and she did. She put that head down, and then she really ran really hard. So
big day there, but as I alluded at the top, it was a big couple of weeks, and we're going to take a look, and I'll just have the guys go from the Del Mar Oaks. We'll watch Cambier Park win on August 17th, and on August 10th, we were out in Chicago in the Bev D. We're on board Sister Charlie. The guys can run both of those, because I just wanted to talk a little bit about, you head out to Chicago a couple of weeks ago for the Bev D, and a week or so back, the Del Mar Oaks out in Del Mar. Talk a little bit about jockey, because I think in both of these situations, you rode here on Friday and here on Sunday. A couple of years ago, we were up at the Woodbine Mile. We always cover that, and you went on world approval and did all the winner's circle things, and then reporters were chasing you across the track. You had to catch your plane. Talk about the travel schedule, Chicago, or more importantly, cross country when you're riding out at Del Mar, and you have to, you're riding here on Friday and back here on Sunday. How do you get to Del Mar, and how do you get back? How do you meet that schedule?
That's a tough one, and thankfully, I mean, I didn't come back on Sunday, just to clarify that. I stayed there and rode there on Sunday. But normally, like you said, we Saturday, you hit Friday, Saturday morning, you take a plane really early to go to California, and then you're there all day, and you rush out of there to get the red eye coming home. And it's a long flight. Trust me, it's like you leave in the morning, you come back, and then if you don't sleep at all in the plane, you really feel not so good when you come over here back to New York. And normally that's what happens, because if you take a little nap on the plane going in the morning that way, at least for me, it's really hard for me to sleep coming back at home at night. So the red eye, I'll be awake most of the time. If I sleep half hour or an hour, it'd be a lot, though, So then you get here in the morning. I got here, actually, it's weird, because if we come to JFK, you get there around 5 o'clock in the morning, you come all the way here. I didn't get here until 10:30 in the afternoon, so we would have to come to the races and ride just like that without actually having much sleep. So it makes it really tough, definitely.
Yeah, I can imagine, because as I say, cross country, but even, again, Woodbine, you were kind of running to catch a flight to get back, and
at least it's an easy flight, because it's only an hour and a half, 2 hour flight but you have to rush out of there to catch a flight back to New York. So So it makes it a little tight, though, yeah. But it's not a bad flight. The California trip is the killer.
But again, congratulations. As I say,
you.
it's been a spectacular couple of weeks. Del Mar Oaks and Sister Charlie in the Bev D. And coming up this weekend, also pulled up a replay. This is a couple of races back. Vino Rosso in the Gold Cup out at Santa Anita, going to be the number 7 horse. You were out in Southern California at Santa Anita for this one back in May. Subsequently, Vino Rosso 3rd in the Whitney up here. But reading the remarks in the racing forum, Todd said we wanted to work out over the track to see if he likes Saratoga, given what we saw in the 3rd behind McKenzie last time. Really nice pull at 58 and change. Talk a little bit about the performance here in the Gold Cup, but I think you were on board for the workout recently too.
Yeah,
here.
I was. I mean, it's like obviously he went over there and he loved the racetrack and he was pretty aggressive and he let me do what I wanted to do with him. With the race, it was, pretty speed, but we didn't want to let, obviously though the horse get along too easy with the lead going over there and then never catch up with him. So he actually allowed me to do what I wanted to be and be pretty close to the horse. When it came over here, I told Tad, I don't know why he was not as aggressive. He didn't really pull me much going to the first turn, and kind of had to remind him to stay there. So a little bit different in a sense. And then we worked him back here on the main track, and he seemed to like it. So we went pretty fast.
58 change.
That was a really well. I mean, we never really put that much fast work in our horses anyway. For he did. I mean, he did really well. So we think that he likes the track. Maybe he would just a little bit, from the race before to this one, maybe it was a little bit flat. So maybe he can put that together now and win here Saturday.
Trevor's Woodward double would be a nice
Yes,
Saratoga meet.
absolutely.
Before we let you go, whenever I get trainers or jockeys in here, I just like to talk for a lot of the folks that are new to the game. Saratoga season pulls a lot of people in. Just get some thoughts on some of the nuts and bolts of the game. And one of the things I've asked a couple of jockeys at this meet, I watch the Fox MSG show a lot, and they'll have the horses in the paddock, and there'll be a horse that's maybe a little lethargic, or maybe a horse that's really on its toes, and they'll say, they'll try to work on that in the warm-up. And you mentioned the warm-up earlier. Talk a little bit about what a jockey and what your job is. Post-parade, then they let you go and you get that warm-up before the gate. How do you work on the horse, and do you get mentally a horse that maybe needs a little work as you come out of the paddock and get into the post-parade?
Absolutely. First of all, you got to get along with the horse right away, though. And from day to day, they can change just like people. We do the same thing, though. So you see the attitude they have, how they behaving, and if you think they're already a little too warmed up going to the race, you're not gonna do as much. And if you think they're a little more quiet and they need a little more warm up, then you're gonna do a little more. So you have to try to balance that a little bit in the middle, where especially if you have a speed horse and it's already wound up, you want to keep him quiet as you can. Otherwise, you have no chance to settle down when the gates open. And then when you have a quiet horse, you think that even has some speed, and now it's too quiet. Now you guys like, okay, I have speed, but this horse is not really on her mind to run. So you give it a nice warm up and put him on the toes, and then they change right away. The door is open. They know you're ready for it. And the opposite way. So when you have a lot of speed and you think that that better not do very much with the horse, because if I do too much, and then I don't get to settle. So it goes both ways. You just gotta see the personalities, how they're doing that day or the race, and how they're behaving, and how much you think you can do or you can't do. So.
And I assume experience plays a lot into that. The more you ride horses, the more you get to learn. Oh, I'm feeling this on the horses. We're going on the paddock. Here's what I'm going to have to try to do.
Yeah, and I mean, it goes race by race and day by day. And sometimes, you whether the horse comes from behind or from in front, it's just about what the horse is telling you on that day and that race. So, and obviously you have to put in consideration the competition. What you like to do, and things you have to change. Sometimes a lot of speed in the race. It's just, well, I'm going to try to give a better chance to this horse and not be head in a hot pace. So you try to do a little less on the horse. That depends on your position and all that stuff. So we play a little bit with everything. So sometimes people just read the form and think, oh, this is going to happen, and that's not going to happen in our plan, because we could. Then again, you try to follow instructions, what they're telling you. For the most part, I mean, I've been riding for a long time, so if you had to put input into the race to our trainers, which allow me to do what I wanted to do and try something different, sometimes they allow you to do that, unless it's the horse that has, one weight of running, though. That changes us too. But for the most part, you have to plan that on that day in that race, because every race is different, and not only every race is different, the track is different. You got to play the track. You got to play, so you got to play all the situations to put together and try to do what's best for the horse for that particular race.
Well, there's been talk this meet a lot of days about track bias. How do jockeys kind of become aware of that and play into that?
Then again, it's like it goes back to the same thing. How you do, what are you going to do with your horse, and how do you warm up the horses, and what the instructions are too. But if you watch it race by race, it can change too. It depends on how much whatever we have the track and how the track is right now. And all that. So you have to play that a little bit. Then there are the factors too that how they were hard on the track, or they were sealing the track, and how the track opens after they seal the track. So those things change the track all the time. So you got to play that as well. So there are many things that a lot of people might not think about it. So the way how to play it, obviously we are racing in that day, so we were watching how the track is playing or what they're doing with the track. This is mainly on the main track and the dirt track. I mean, grass is going to be grass unless it's raining, and going to change from the rain. But there are days that they have to change the main track most of the time, because they're planning for rain. It doesn't rain now. The track is dry and it's sealed, and it changes right away. So those things we have to put it in play, and hopefully it works out for your horse.
Talk a little bit about your prep work. How do you prep for a race day, as far as PPs or replays or that kind of thing?
I do. I do my homework in the morning. It's like even before I got here, that's what I was doing, and then I only ride 3 horses today. So you do your homework and see how the competition looks, and so on. Just basically what I was talking about, and then you go to the paddock and talk it to the trainer, and sometimes there's specific instructions, sometimes they're not. Sometimes you talk back and forth and try to do what's best for the horse for that particular race. If I don't much sure about the competition, and then I watch some replays. So for the most part, I remember the horses that I ride, and then again, I ride a lot of horses that I never seen before. So those are horses you might want to go and see how they react, and most of the time I just wait for the trainer to tell me what the kind of the horses are a little bit like. They tell you about the horse, the temperament and all that stuff. So you kind of go for that. For the most part, it's homework in the racing forum and get my own opinions and see. And most of the horses, I even that I haven't ridden them, but I know the horses because you compete against those horses. So that's the easy part. The difficult part is just trying to get the gauge in the competition. That's what you have to pay attention to the most. And I think
you have to also gauge the other jockeys, because you've ridden with them so much.
Oh, absolutely. No. Listen, not just the jockeys. That's what I mean when I mean the competition. Just not just jockeys, the horses, the trainers' perspective of the race. So some trainers like to train the horses some way, and they like it to run the same way as well. So when you ride with that many jockeys and trainers that you've ridden in the past, so you kind of know what the instructions are going to be, and then you go by the jockey, and sometimes they put the jockey just for a reason, because they're going to ride the horse the way I want it to, and that's the way it goes. So sometimes you go for that. For the most part, you got to play your homework and see how it goes. Yeah, you have a plan A, you have a plan B, plan C, and hopefully you don't have to go through the plan B and C most of the time. If it goes right in plan A, it works perfectly. But you have to be prepared for something that's not going to work for you.
And before we let you go, just talk a little bit about riding at Saratoga. You've been doing it for years now, but how special is it on a day like Saturday? Travers 48,000 people to come back.
It's incredible, man. This is a beautiful place. It's my favorite place of all time. It's like just the fans are great. The owners are really involved in here. Obviously, best racing, best horses coming into Saratoga, and you can see any kind of horse leaving from here for Saratoga, and you can see how they develop afterwards. So it's definitely a spiritual place, and been my home for so many years now. So definitely I call it home.
Yeah, again, your agent, Angel Cordero, the king, as it were. When I got into the game, he was the guy here, and now for many years, You've been doing well. It's been a great season this year. Oh, before I let you go, I'll let you talk a little bit. You're prominent, obviously, with the Jockeys Guild, the PDJF. I didn't make it over to karaoke. How was karaoke this year?
You missed a good show. You missed a good show. I'm going to tell you. We didn't make it there. It was a really good show. And we end up, my wife and I end up winning the Saratoga karaoke with this kid that she comes up with these weird things that she follows. She's a great fan of Saturday Night Live. So we went to something like that. It was a great show. And not because me, because I just therefore try to follow up a little bit. My wife can follow singing a little bit. I just help out a little bit. No. But the guys, I mean, everybody. I think this year everybody did really, really well. Everybody prepared really well, and I think overall it was much better than we had in the past. So and then California did the same thing. They did really, really good in only the second year. So I'm very proud of the guys that getting involved and trying to get in. Involved and giving back. I mean, it's a great cause. Obviously, PDJF for the girls who get hurt in the racetrack, and we try to help them and the families. So, but for us to do something that we're out of our comfort zone, that obviously we're not singers, and for the guys to come out and try what we've done. I mean, it's a fun night. I have to say, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. And it seems like everybody who goes really had fun, and that's the whole purpose of it. And raising funds for PDJF. So it's been a fun place to do it, fun things to do, and it always and raising funds for the PDJF. So it's been great, definitely.
Yeah, it's one of the highlights of this, kind of the social season up here across
Absolutely.
the street. The PDJF karaoke, jockey karaoke. Mark it on your calendar next year. YouTube usually has some highlights of. I have to ask though, if you want, how much rehearsal time did you and your wife do?
We only have one rehearsal, and we do it in my house. Actually, that's it. We do the rehearsal in the house. We get the guys who are going to participate, and we try to invite everybody though, and whatever shows up and rehearses, and some of them rehearse on their own house. But most of us go to my house and try to rehearse one night and do it. Because there's a lot of things here in Saratoga that we have to do. It's a lot of charities, a lot of events that we have to show up, and like cocktail parties and all that stuff that we have to do. So we only have a chance to do one rehearsal, and then we try to go there, and it has worked out pretty well. But I think, from all the years that we're doing it, for this year, I thought it was the best way, and I think everybody stepped it up big time, and everybody sounded really well.
Oh, I also saw Stabile and Larry Colmus were out there doing it.
They were awesome. I thought they were awesome. I mean, everybody who showed up, and I'm glad that everybody participated and tried to make a fun event. I think they were awesome. I think that was very funny, and we had to apologize to a few owners that were there, because the song wasn't the right song for everybody. But overall, I thought it was fun. It was a good place to go and raise funds for the PDJF. So overall, that was definitely a success event.
Again, a great cause, and mark that on your calendar for next year because it's an annual event up here. John, appreciate the visit, because I know it's a busy, as we've kind of alluded to just in the last couple of minutes, a busy season up here, morning workouts in the afternoon and whatnot, but wanted to get you over here off the great last weekend, as I say, the last couple of weeks across the country. So congratulations on what's gone on so far. Continued success through the remainder of the meet as you move downstate as well.
That's right. Thank you very much.
John Velazquez. All right, we'll take our last break, come back in a few, wrap things up on this edition of Racing Across America. Stay tuned.
Where's the best place to find your favorite teams, your favorite food, daily drink specials, and wagering on live horse racing? Legends Field Sports Bar, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. Get your game on day or night with 75 flat-screen TVs, tournament-style pool tables, a private banquet room, and live horse racing. So if someone asks you, where's the best sports bar in the capital region? Tell them Legends Field Sports Bar, inside the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany.
Birdstone is an outside front. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes. In front, but here comes High Chaparral. High Chaparral, the defending champ, to take it to Bob. These two arch rivals head to head with Joe Hart bearing down on them. It's going to be a three-horse photo finish in the turn. Here's the wire. Photo finish.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool. Race results and replays, past performances, and live streaming. Wagering from all your digital devices. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. I got to wrap things up. We're running long, but why not? John Velazquez. I want to thank John Velazquez for stopping by. As I say, always nice when somebody can take the time because it's very busy up here at Saratoga. David Aragona talking a little today and the weekend and whatnot. We'll look back on last weekend as well. David Aragona, morning line odds maker for the New York Racing Association. Also, see him in the pregame with Andy occasionally. And Skip Dickstein, photographer extraordinaire up here at Saratoga, looking at some of his work and talking about the work schedule for a photographer up here at Saratoga. Appreciate all of our guests stopping in this morning. Let me hit you with the promos coming up. Here at the track, today, Thursday, is a low rollers day. Keep that in mind. Swing on by the 4-Star Dave area and sign up. Only 2 more shots at the low rollers. I'm taking both of them because if you heard me lament a couple of week and a half or so ago, I punched the wrong button. Otherwise, it would have been in a money position. And other than that, I've kind of been whiffing. So I got to make something happen in the last 2. But take your shot at the low roller. Also a reminder, giveaway items out by the Big Red Spring. They did it yesterday. They're doing it today. Previous NYRA giveaway items are for sale today, starting at 11 out by the Big Red Spring. So T-shirts and caps and whatnot from previous years here at Saratoga. I think even the earlier giveaways from this season are available, but that's out by the Big Red Spring today, starting at 11. Oh, Andy Serling's radio show, Parting Glass, tonight, 8 o'clock. Chad Brown, Eric Donovan was one of the guests. Oh, Dale Romans, and there was another that I'm forgetting, but it was a great lineup tonight. Parting Glass at 8 o'clock for Andy's radio show. OTB, we have a Beat the Handicapper online contest today. Go to the website for more information. Tomorrow, Fan Appreciation Day at Catskill Mountain Lodge. That'll go from noon until 5 tomorrow. Catskill Mountain Lodge. Stop by, give us our chance to say thank you to you. Tomorrow also, it's a Bonaventure Stables Day promotion at the Clubhouse Racebook. The first 50 folks get a $2 win bet on River and Dreams, who goes out tomorrow here at Saratoga for Bonaventure. Also, there'll be a Bonaventure giveaway item. Stop by tomorrow, Bonaventure Stables Day at the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. Tomorrow's also the Bounty Bet, $806 up for grabs. All you have to do is play the late pick 5 at Saratoga with your Capital OTB account. That's tomorrow. There's a $150 late pick 5 bankroll with Mike Callahan. Check out the website. $1,000 bankroll coming up on Saturday with Sully. You have until tonight, Thursday night, to sign up for that. Go to the website and see if you can get on Saturday's $1,000 bankroll team. Saturday, there's an Empire 6 promotion at the Clubhouse Racebook and a double Sunday promotion at the Clubhouse Racebook on Sunday, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. All right, as noted, I'm late. Man, I'm really late. I got to wrap things up for this edition of Racing Across America. Tomorrow, we are back with more handicapper support at 9 a.m., Racing Across America at 10. We'll see you then.
Clock? What clock?
You've been watching Racing Across America with Seth Merrow. Racing Across America has been brought to you by CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today. Pinnell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track. The Leah Auto Group. To search their inventory, schedule a service appointment, or find a dealership near you, visit leahcars.com. Leah Cars for life. Woodbine Racetrack. Pick, bet, and cheer on world-class horse racing north of the border. And the new Capital OTB mobile app. Wager anytime, anywhere. Download it free from the iTunes Store or Google Play.